This podcast is brought to you by sleepyj.com/beats. If you need a beat for your next album, mixtape, or demo project, check out sleepyj.com/beats. That's SLEEPEJ.com/beats. Warning, this podcast may offend some people unintentionally. So if you get offended easily, you are advised to turn off now. And if you're still here listening, thanks and enjoy the show. What's up with it, world? It's your boy Sleepy J. Tuned in to Sleep Talkin. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Thank you for checking me out. This is the Sleep Talkin podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's Sleep Vision. I appreciate all of you guys for all the support and love that you guys give me each and every week. I apologize for the late post this week. I know it is Thursday. I usually get this up on Tuesday. This past week we started Lent. Had my anniversary and things like that, so I was busy all weekend doing my thing. I apologize I did not get this done sooner, but it also gave me some time to get some news topics together and some things to happen. But before I get into all that stuff, I'm on my job hunt. I'm struggling to find a job in Texas. Not struggling to find a job. I'm finding a job that I want to do in Texas. I'm struggling to my job actually has been doing some layoffs and things like that, so it's been a rough week for myself watching people I've been working with for the past few years go because of downsizing and things like that. So I've been dealing with a lot of those things. Personally, that's what I've been going on. I am working on some new beats that I'll be releasing this week, depending on if the artist that's been buying my beats pretty regularly doesn't want them, then I'll put them on the website because they buy them exclusively versus what I put on my website or lease. So if you don't know, go to sleepyj.com/beats. If you're looking for beats, I will have some new ones up, probably more R&B, reggaeton style. That's what I'm like in my bag for right now. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me. I apologize for again not posting like I was supposed to, not being here when you guys are used to it, but you got an episode, and I will be doing a new episode very, very soon. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into the topics this week. I'm just going to kind of run down this line because I think I got it in a pretty good order that I wanted to talk about. So, news topic today that I just seen on the news, on my timeline, was a 32-year-old inmate in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, cut off his penis. He's apparently in solitary confinement, cut off his dick, says that he has no need for it, cut it off, threw it in the toilet, flushed it down, was standing in the corner, told his jailers or COs, whatever you want to call them, called them, said that he has a medical emergency, cut off his dick, flushed it down the toilet, says he has no use for it, and which is now raising a conversation about, is solitary confinement something we should still be doing today? Because we're finding out that solitary confinement is actually doing a lot of mental issues to these inmates. And so I agree that solitary confinement can be harmful to these people. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, who cares? They're in prison and whatever. But sometimes when you look at this, I know everyone has this image of a prisoner or an inmate that's like, all tatted up and they're serial killers and they're doing this and that and this and that. You got to keep in mind, like, prison isn't just, there's those people in there. There's child molesters and serial murderers and things like that in prison. But some of these people that are in prison, they might be just in prison for, let's say, bank fraud or stealing our identity. Now, granted, it sucks that they, might have done those crimes and whatever, but I mean, do they deserve to be like treated like scum and horrible people just because, maybe they just were down on their luck, they decided to do something? And again, I'm not excusing all these people. I just know that from my experiences, some of these people have just made dumb mistakes in their life. They've done, maybe, they were strung out, made the wrong choices because they were strung out, stealing from people, and that's what led them into jail. And now they're straightening up because now they're actually behind bars. I do know a lot of people don't straighten up, but I think that's because we don't, I I don't think that we're actually taking care of people in prison. I think we set them up to come back to prison. We set them up in belief that, like, you know what, you're not going to change your life. You're just going to end back up here. They're just numbers. They're just money because we have privatized prisons and things of that nature. So I think that we're constantly just worried about bringing people back into prison, and we're not actually trying to reform them. I think if we were to, as you guys know, if you guys are a fan of the show, you guys know I've talked to prison reform people, and I'm interested in this. I would like to see more initiatives to reforming people that have gone to prison, helping them get job skills to help them come out and be more successful, help them get the education they need so that way they can go and secure better jobs and not be just stuck in, like, when I got out of prison, now I have this felony on me, and now I'm going back to prison because nobody wants to give me a job because they see that I'm a felon. They see that I've done this and that in my past, and I can't get a step forward. Now, again, I do know a lot of people don't want to go, get out of that lifestyle, that have lived that lifestyle, because, I will say they're stupid. If you go to prison for doing something, let's say you're a drug dealer, and then you decide to go back because you didn't want to try to get your life together, it's dumb. But I know a lot of people that do that stuff because, like, look, I got out, I tried to go down the straight, things weren't going my way, and I went back to doing it. I have less sympathy for those kind of people. I have relatives that have done the same thing, so it's hard, and it's a hard life to try and break out of, is what I'm trying to say. And we're not making it any easier by putting them through extra conditions. And I think that we need to try and find a way to actually educate these people, help them be able to assimilate to the world the way they're supposed to be, versus like, no, you went to prison, you're a horrible person, you're just a piece of shit drug dealer, you're just a horrible this person, that person, whatever the case is. Now, again, I'm not making excuses for the ones that, like, depending on what drugs you're dealing, depending on what things you're doing, like, I don't look at those as the worst of the worst. Like, if you're out here just, like, raping little kids, murdering people, and things of those nature, like, yeah, I'm a little bit harsher on my opinions. But people that are like, oh, a thief that was strung out, I feel like, get them some rehab, get them a job so that way they're not sitting here worried about making rent and things of that nature. And I feel like those people can be reformed. Even somebody that's been I think most people can be reformed unless there's just flat out evil and wrong people. So I would like to see more prison reform programs that help set people up for a better life afterwards. But while I'm talking about prison, I do want to talk about Cardinal George Pell. He was sentenced to 6 years for child abuse. Apparently, he's 77 years old. He was facing 50 years. I didn't read all the details to why he only got 6 years. Probably because he's 77 years old. They figure he'll probably die before he finishes those years. Which I know is a big topic because, right now we're always talking about, like, R. Kelly, and we're always talking about Michael Jackson, which they're fucking kids and they're doing all these horrible acts, and I know that it's a bad thing. So, with that being said, I've heard people bring up, like, if we're gonna attack these people, we need to also talk about the priests and things like that. So, the Cardinal George Pell being finally going to court, being sentenced for doing something wrong is a step in the right direction, because I know there's a separation of church and state and all that stuff, and I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole of all those things, but I know I've never heard of any of these priests or any of these cardinals going to jail for doing these type of things. So to see it happen, I think we're headed in the right direction. Apparently he was doing it for a very long time, and that's why he finally caught up with them. But moving on, there's some crazy things in the news today. There's a dad that took an AK-47 to a school because his son called him, said that the teacher slammed him. Now, I don't know how old this kid was or anything like that, because, like, I don't know, a high school kid might be an asshole, and if he did that, if a kid is in high school, let's say 16, 17 years old, he might be an asshole. A teacher might have slammed him because of whatever case may be. I'm not going to be that protective and be, like, running up. I'm probably going to be yelling at my kid, What the fuck did you do that made the teacher do that? Now, I might go to the school and be pissed off they put their hand on my kid, but I'm still going to be a little bit skeptical. I'm assuming that this kid was probably at least middle school, maybe more elementary. I didn't get a chance to read the details. At least they didn't mention in what I read. But apparently the kid called his dad, was crying on the phone, saying that the teacher slammed him. And then while the dad was talking to him on the phone, the phone was cut off. Like, the kid got snatched up, dropped the phone. I think, if I read it correctly, I believe the dad was in a wheelchair. He pulled up, the gun was showing. He was talking crazy to the police officers, telling them that they're going to need more than what they got for what he's got. Like, he was talking crazy. It was like, it sounded like a really fucked up situation. That in the report, they didn't really say what happened, but I just think it's crazy that a parent, a dad, would go with the AK-47. Like, I get going up to school and talking to the principal, talking to the teacher that put their hands on your kid, but with the AK-47, like, is it that serious that you need to take an AK-47? Like, you're not going to war. Like, even if you want to take a pistol, which I'm not, saying you guys should do that, but even a pistol is I won't say smarter, because that's still advocating violence, but that would make more sense. Like, AK-47 is like a piece of machinery that you're using to take down big people. Like, well, I guess he's in a wheelchair, so he has a disadvantage, but even still, teachers don't have guns. You probably don't need to be taking a gun to a school to address the situation. Now, if it happens outside of school, whatever the case is, again, not advocating it, you got to defend yourself or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, taking a gun to a school, like, we have enough school shootings. Like, that's the last thing we need to hear is about a dad that went into school to address a teacher, fucked around, shot 7 other kids in the process. Because if you've never shot one of those guns, like, that's not a gun you can just hold on to and get an accurate shot. Once you start letting it go, it kind of, your hand's gonna drift off to different directions and whatever. Most people can't hold that gun and just, like, keep it in a steady situation. You got to be a very strong person to handle that kickback and keep it at a steady shot if you're going to do that. Again, not advocating this type of thinking. I'm just thinking it was a crazy situation that I wanted to talk about today. Let's see. My 2 deep dives I'm going to get into in just a second. I will just mention Jennifer Lopez got engaged again, which I figured it was only a matter of time. She's always getting engaged. Like, I feel like this is like her 4th or 5th wedding she's about to have. So, shout outs to her. She got a $1.4 million ring, which I can't even fathom. Being is that I've worked in the jewelry business, so I know about diamonds and gold and things like that. So I can't imagine. If you guys don't know, diamonds aren't as rare as they try to make you believe, which is a unfortunate thing, but they do make you believe that they're valuable, and that's why they're so expensive and things of that nature. But if you really think about it, like, when you buy a diamond ring, they usually agree, like, oh, you buy the diamond ring, if a diamond falls out, we'll replace it, no problem. If the ring is worth, let's say, $1.4 million, you think, because they're going to say, oh, it's got like a 8-carat diamond in it, they're just going to replace it for free? Like, they're just going to give you an 8-carat diamond for free because it's so rare? Like, no, they're going to give it to you because they got a bag full of them somewhere, just going to throw it back in there. It really is a thing. Like, when they buy those things, like, buy diamonds in bulks, like, they got little baggies in their behind their counter. This is the word I was looking for, sorry. But, I worked in the jewelry business for a little bit. Like, most of what I sold was costume jewelry, but I did, associate with an actual jewelry store. So I did get to see the real stuff versus the fake stuff and be able to tell the difference. And I think that the thing I hate the most about the jewelry industry is there's no real worth to a diamond, but we're sold on the idea that diamonds are a thing. Even now, I have some insight knowing that they're trying to force this idea in China that diamonds are something that you should be worried about and trying to get China to have the same value of a diamond the way we have the value of a diamond, from where like every woman needs a diamond, diamonds are a girl's best friend, this type of, you know, marketing scheme that we've had for however long that we've had it. I know my whole life. They're trying to do that in China right now to help the diamond industry and things like that. So I don't know, random fact for you guys. So one of the things I did want to get into was why YBN Almighty J was jumped for his chains, and there was video of it. These kids have been online being very, very disrespectful with how they beat him up. I mean, his pants damn near fell off, if not completely fell off. I know they beat him up. They took his chains, and out of one of his chains that he had, which was a Rap-A-Lot chain. Now, if you guys do not know who Rap-A-Lot is, they are in what's the word? They are very. The word isn't. The word for this, I don't know. They're very well known from the '90s. They've had a lot of people on their record label for a long time. They're iconic. That's the word I was looking for. They're a very iconic record label from the '90s. They are the true independent record label that everybody's really talked about. Like even before we had like Master P and Cash Money and all them, all the Jay Prince, who owns Rap-A-Lot, was there. And actually, if you ever listen to Master P talk about it, he came up with the idea to do No Limit Records because he met Jay Prince, because he met Eazy-E and seen what they were doing, and he started No Limit Records based off of their insight and what they were doing. And Rap-A-Lot Records, run by Jay Prince. I don't know if he's still in charge or if he's handed it off to his kids, but Jay Prince is somebody, he's kind of mythological type of person, because most people know the name, don't necessarily know what he looks like, and if you do know what he looks like, he moves just a certain way. I know me and my friends have joked like Jay Prince is a gangster for real. There's a lot of real stories that you will hear if you listen. If you're a real hip hop fan, like real underground hip hop fan, you will hear Jay Prince's name and hear how people act with him. He's from Houston. He signed the Ghetto Boys. He's the one that actually got the Ghetto Boys out. So if you're a fan of 90s and 80s hip hop, like you know who Jay Prince is, or at least you know who Rap-A-Lot Records is. And so all that to being said is like Jay Prince is a gangster for real. I know he released a book not too long ago, probably like a year or so ago, kind of telling his story. Like, I personally couldn't get into it because it's, well, one, I don't think there's an audio book, which that's what I like to listen to mostly because I don't have time to sit down and actually read. But he does have, I've heard his interviews, and he talks very smooth and slow. And I've heard some real, I'm talking about like real gangster ass stories. Like when people have come for his artists, let's say when people were threatening, one of the guys from UGK, which UGK is the Underground Kings. If you guys don't know who they are, check them out. But in the 90s, UGK was out here rapping, whatever. Somebody actually made a threat. I believe it was on Pimp C. And Jay Prince's response was like, who is it? Made a phone call. And that was squashed. Like, there was it. There's nothing. There was no more questioning what was going to happen. You're not going to keep threatening this guy. He's my guy. That's it. This is one of many stories. There is a comedian that's on the Daily Show. I can't remember the guy's name, but he helps he does like little side skits with Trevor Noah on there. And he was saying that like when he was first starting out, he used to do these like crank calling skits with people and messing with people. So they called him up like, hey, we want you to come down here. Some studio down in Houston wanted him to come down, call up some people, talk some shit, act crazy on the phone with them, and then they would record it and they were going to release it. That was like a thing that people used to do. Comedians used to release CDs back in the day. Now I think they still release like albums, and I quote albums for the people that can't see me. They used to do albums on, or they still do albums and release them on iTunes, but it's not the same as like back in the early 2000s and the 90s and prior to it, where comedians used to release records of their shows or or comedy skits and things like that. And I know like in the 90s it was more of like doing skits, crank calling people and things like that. Anyways, this guy, he was he comes down to Houston. He says that he was they paid him to come down. They flew him down. He was like, all right, who do you want to call? He's like, yeah, let's call Jay Prince. This is going to be hilarious. So he goes into the story about how they called Jay Prince, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know he was talking shit. And like, you know, he's like calling them, you know, I think he was calling them names and saying how Rap-A-Lot sucked and this and that. And Jay Prince was like, who is this? And one of I believe it was the sound engineer that like realized what like that tone that Jay Prince had, and was like started crying immediately. And one of the guys like, Jay, I'm sorry, it's just a joke. We're just joking. And he was like, oh, you're over there. Hey, yo, nigga, turn the car around. He saw this homeboy that was driving the car turn around. He said, I'll be there in a minute. Now, the story and so when that happened, the comedian was like, what the hell? He's like, as soon as I seen the sound engineer start crying, once I seen this guy over here freaking out, he was like, man, I called a cab, got myself back onto a plane, I flew my ass back home. He's like, I'm not trying to find out why that. It's like a grown man was in the studio, started crying as soon as Jay Prince said he was coming. He was like, I never knew anything would happen about that or whatever. Jay Prince wound up going to the radio show, Sway in the Morning. While he was on there, it was brought up. Sway in the Morning had mentioned it to him, said that he had heard this story about it, this, that, and the other. And Jay Prince just said, all I wanted to do was find out what was so funny. I just wanted to laugh at them like they were laughing at me. And it was one of those things that you gotta, like, it's a funny story when you think about it. But grown men were scared of this man for no reason. Well, I'm not going to say no reason. I don't know what happened to them or why they were so afraid of him. But when a grown man is just trying to play a prank on somebody and then you start crying because you're afraid of what's about to happen, you probably need to take that shit serious. All those backstories that I'm just telling you about this guy, he has come out on YB and Almighty J's behalf saying, like, look, that Rap-A-Lot chain that was taken was like a piece of me was stolen. And he tagged a bunch of people online, mostly like New York rappers and all this and that. It's like, yo, if you know who this guy is that did this, I need you guys to rectify it before it gets crazy. And I'm saying, like these young boys need to understand, like, what you're doing online and all this shit's cute, whatever, what you guys want to do is cute. But there's a time where like real gangsters do real things and they move in silence. And like, that's the most, you know, you're going to get out of somebody like that. That's not going to, you know, he's not going to say anything. He's not even going to make, that wasn't a threat. He was just saying, you guys need to get these guys in check. And he's upset. Now it's up to you guys to rectify your situation. But a lot of people don't realize, you know, when I was growing up, they called them OGs. When your OG calls or when somebody that's older than you comes and tells you like what you're doing is wild and you need to get in line, that's why they did it. I know a lot of this young generation, they don't understand that. They don't believe in that. And it causes a lot of friction. And for the most part, from what I understand, a lot of these OGs, like, these young kids, they ain't got no respect and they just let them do their thing. But somebody, like, he's older, he's like a triple OG, like, he's been around for a long time. He's not going to just let that shit fly. If he gets involved, it's going to be a problem. And me being the ratchet person that I am, I actually enjoy watching it because makes it interesting. You guys want to fuck around and find out some real gangster shit happens? You're going to find out how shit happens. And everyone else is going to cry and say it wasn't called for or whatever. But as I said before, you want to play gangster, be prepared for when gangster shit happens. So I found that interesting. I laughed actually when I seen it. I was like, people are going to learn to quit fucking around with Jay Prince. He's not one of these, you know, people that you just keep fucking around with and playing like that. But with all that said, let's just keep it moving. If you guys haven't heard, the big news is celebrities are getting in trouble because they feel like they don't have enough white privilege as it is. I don't know all the celebrities that are involved in this. I just have kind of like, I know the one that I've been focusing on is the lady that played Aunt Becky on Full House. She was supposed to turn herself in yesterday or today, but she paid somebody a lot of money to get her daughter into school. And I know her daughter did release a video saying how she didn't really care about going to college. She just wanted the experience of partying and hanging out and all that. And I know she also did, before this even broke, she also did a retraction video saying like, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, because she did have endorsement deals. People were paying her to post things on their website and things like that. So she, I mean, because she's a celebrity's daughter, she's obviously got a platform and people that follow her and things like that just because of who she is. And in the world that we are, your parent could be a celebrity and you're a smaller celebrity by proxy because you're like this person's son or this person's daughter, and they're famous for all these movies or all these TV shows and things of that nature. So you automatically are used to having money and things of that nature. And because they had a following, it's a trickle down effect basically. And so she was forced to apologize because I think the school was paying her for her endorsement deals and all things like that. But that was before all this broke out anyways. Now Aunt Becky's going to jail. I know William H. Macy's wife went to jail too. I think she's out now on bail, but you know, these celebrities are going to jail for paying for their kids to get into school. Now, we're not talking like, oh, they're paying money legally through tuition and things like that, or even paying for like a library or new dorm rooms or things of that nature. They were actually paying somebody to extend their kids' test time by twice as much time. You know, like, oh, say you get 8 hours to do the SATs or ACTs or whatever. I don't know how long it is, but whatever that allowed time is, they were getting twice the time. And then to top that off, they were going back, the people that were allowing them to have all that extra time, whatever answers they got wrong, they would correct some of those answers too to help them get a higher score. And they were paying as much as, like, not all of them were paying as much, but I know I've seen something as like as much as $270,000 to help them get into colleges and all that. And really, my take on this is like, one, given the opportunity, I probably would pay extra to make sure my kid got into a school. Probably, you know, pay for a dorm or something like that if I had that kind of money. Even if it was like an extra $500, like, you pay me $500, I guarantee he'll score really high, get into the school of their choice. I'd pay that. But that to me is more of paying like a tutor or somebody that could guarantee their services. Probably, I don't think, me personally, I would pay for my kid to go to a huge college or a huge university, being if I was a celebrity and I've had millions of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, where, like, yes, I can afford to send them to the best schools in the world, but I'm probably not going to. Like, realistically speaking, whatever money that I probably make, you're probably going to get. Most of these celebrities, you know, let's say, even if they die with like $50 million in the bank, your kid didn't have to work for that $50 million. They're going to probably get that $50 million plus whatever assets you have, things of that nature. So these people are already lived a whole life of, your whole life, I've been rich, I've been famous. So you've had rich and famous people around you, be it another celebrity actor that had kids, you know, things of that nature. Like, this is, I mean, it's no different than being a regular person in the sense that, like, yeah, you go to school, you have a friend that you went to school with. When you have a kid, they have a kid, and then your kids grow up together, things like that. Celebrities are the same way. So these people are going through this with all this white privilege and all these things, and it is not fair to the rest of the people who actually have to bust their ass, be it someone like me or you that are like, man, I've been busting my ass trying to get into the school. I got rejected because I didn't have the right test scores, or, you know, I didn't have the money to go to the school. This kid already had the money. You're you know, if you can't get into a college on your own merit as a rich, privileged kid that's gone to the best schools that money could afford because you went to a private school, because you went to, you know, you had private tutors and things of that nature, you're just not meant to go. And I mean, realistically, let's be honest with ourselves. This is how the rich keep saying rich. But I'm just looking at it as like, I wouldn't pay for that personally if I knew I was gonna leave that money to my kid, or my kid was gonna keep living off of my dime. Like, if I would send my kid to a prestigious school, let's say Yale, I'm not paying for them to get into it if they can't afford it. Like, if they don't have the grades to get into Yale, I'm not paying someone to allow them to get in there. Because you're not going to go to school, fail, and then now I have to pay for this tuition, and I have to pay for your dumb ass afterwards. Now, if I'm going to pay for your college like this is for me to say, you're going to go to college, and now you're going to live on your own and be an adult after you get out of college, because now, like, I don't know where these people that go to Yale and Harvard and all these prestigious schools go to. Like, I don't know where you live. I don't think I've ever like I've known people that were accepted to those schools, but they didn't go because they didn't have the money. I don't know where those people live and what they do with their lives, but I'm pretty sure if you go work anywhere and you see a Yale, Harvard graduate cross your desk and you're hiring somebody, you're probably going to give them a job. You're going to let them have any job they want because because of the school alone. Because, I mean, they have thousands of kids that go there just like every other college. But how come, you don't run into them every day? Like, these aren't people you run into every day on a normal basis. Like, it's not like, someone that went to Everest. That's who I run into. I ran into kids that went to Everest College, the community college, Phoenix, whatever the case is, Columbia College. Like, those are schools that I run into. I've never run into somebody that's graduated from Harvard, Yale, or whatever. They're rich kids, they're privileged kids that that never lived not a normal life. They never lived my life. They don't know what it's like to go through in my everyday, and they're still, they were privileged in that sense already. Then to find out they're paying extra money to get allowed into these colleges is fucking crazy. And then then what happens? Are they passing or are they failing out? Like, how do you fail out? I don't know. It's fucking crazy. It's funny that it's happening to these white celebrities. I'm kind of interested because I feel like somebody's going to have to go to jail. I don't know if they're all going to go to jail, if some of them are going to go to jail, but someone's going to have to go to jail for this. And it'd be interesting to see rich white people go to jail for like 2 or 3 years, like whether it's Aunt Becky or William H. Macy's wife. I don't know her name, but these people go to jail for a year or two. I don't think they need to go to jail for a long time, but I feel like we've already shown the message that they feel like, oh, if I pay enough money, it'll handle a situation. So I don't feel like they can just skate by and just, like, oh, just pay the lawyer, pay some fines, you'll be fine. I don't think that's going to work this time, but I could be wrong. So those are my news topics for today. Sorry I kind of went on some tangents, got off the script a little bit, went a little bit crazy. I apologize for that, but I do want to talk about some new music. So, Carly Coy, which you guys don't know is South Park Mexican's daughter. She did an album called My Father's Revenge. It's a pretty nice album. I really like the beats. What she pretty much did was took a lot of SPM songs, remade them. She interviewed him. She just kind of re-recorded them, remade them, and all that stuff. So I personally like it. It's pretty much what I've been listening to this week. Major Riley, Blood a Run. I don't know how to, look up Major Riley. He's got a new album out. Check it out. He was on the show a few weeks ago. Check him out. I'm just trying to give him a shout out. Check it out. I'm going to check it out. I've listened to Amen, I think it was. It's pretty good. I've listened to Blood I Run, the actual song. So check it out. He's out here. If you like reggaeton, if you like reggae music, check it out. If you like soca music, check it out. I'm going to check it out just so I can show some support, let him get a few streams off of me listening to it. But Tech 9 has a new EP out called The Nina Collections 2. I listened to it. It's pretty dope. Obviously, if you're a Tech 9 fan, you're going to like it. He never fails to deliver. Yellow Wolf has a new song out, Bloody Sunday. It is a diss record. He's in his bag. He's really going hard at a lot of people. Post Malone, MGK, G-Eazy. I suggest checking it out if you haven't heard it. I listened to the whole thing a few times. At first, I just kind of caught a little snippet of it, but then I actually went back and watched the video a few times just because it's a really dope diss track. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens. Question for you guys that are fans of hip-hop and things like that. If you know who Yellow Wolf is and listen to Bloody Sunday, who do you think has a shot to actually respond to him at a good capacity? I think MGK might, but then again, MGK might feel like since he just battled Eminem, he doesn't necessarily need to go at Yellow Wolf. Post Malone kind of just called him a nerd, wrote him off. And I don't know that G-Eazy will. I think G-Eazy will eventually if Yellow Wolf applies enough pressure. I think you'll see a response from G-Eazy. That's my personal opinion. That is my episode for the week. I apologize for the late upload. I hopefully will have this up for you today. With all that being said, I'm sending you away with nothing but peace, love, positivity, positive light, vibes, thoughts, and prayers. I salute you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.